Good morning, everyone. Today we are with the amazing author, Mr. David Webb, who wrote several books actually. So, sir, can we please begin the interview?
Of course, yes, really good to be here.
So, sir, I've heard that you've written more than 30 books, which is absolutely amazing because that's a lot. So, what is your process, sir? Like, what is your process of writing?
I think the process of writing is much like I'm telling the children to do here. Obviously, the first thing you need is a good idea. So, as I've just been speaking to the whole school, telling them that I actually collect ideas. Wherever I go, I'm always on the lookout for them, whether it's in England, where I come from, or on a trip to Qatar. Once you've got the idea, then I sort of play around with it in my mind for a while, and the idea expands. Before I actually start writing anything, I always make a plan. Always plan the story. First of all, just a rough outline. And then when I've got the rough outline, writing a story is a little bit like going on a long journey. You wouldn't just set off without knowing where you're going.
Yeah.
So I do that in terms of writing by formulating a plan, how the story is going to begin, what characters are in, some excitement or funny incidents in the middle depending on the plot. I always know how my stories are going to end. When I've done the plan, I'm ready to write. Not straight onto computer. I'm a little bit old-fashioned in that I still tend to handwrite it, then read it through and revise it, then I'm ready for the final copy on computer. And fingers crossed that somebody likes it.
I'm sure everyone is, sir. Because I've actually seen a few of them and they're very,
You're very kind.
Yeah. No, sir. I did like them, like the Professor Nether series.
Yeah.
So, sir, are your books inspired from external influences? Like, I know Professor Nether was like collectible myths and history from other
They're inspired by all sorts of different things. I certainly collect characters. So again, one or two characters that are in the books are based on real people, but obviously I change the names and maybe exaggerate a little bit. They're more inspired by interests. Quite a few of my books have a historical theme, although they might be tackled in different ways. One could be like I have one out called Tom Travis Time Traveller, which goes back to the Fire of London, 1666. So that's an exciting time travel adventure. On the other hand, I have The Curse of the Pharaoh's Tomb, which obviously has an Egyptian theme, but is more of a humorous book with a central character being Professor Nutter. So history is certainly one influence, but sometimes it's just the grain of an idea that you collect and use your imagination to develop it. So it's a real mixture.
I think that's the process when some of us write as well.
I think it's everybody's process, yeah. You need a starting point.
It's always hard to find a starting point though.
Well, it is, yes. That's why I collect ideas.
So, sir, can you recall when you were inspired to write? The very first time you thought, you know what, I'm going to write?
Well, to be honest, I think when I was very young, like a lot of boys in England, I thought I'd be a footballer. But obviously I wasn't good enough for that. I'm very interested in the sport. But every single night when I was a child, I used to go to bed and read a book. We had no Xboxes or television in the bedroom. I would go to bed and I would read a book until my mother used to come up and make me switch off the light. And then I'd creep out and put it back on again. And I really think it was that when I was a child that inspired me to be a writer. Because I then started just writing my own short stories at home. But to be honest, I didn't actually think of taking up writing as a career until I was well into a different career. Because back in England I was a teacher and eventually a primary school head teacher. Being a teacher, working with young children all the time, you're in a perfect position to try out your ideas and your stories. And that's really when it took off and I decided, I really want to do that. I started writing seriously.
That actually sounds like, it's like a prophetic thing where before you didn't know you want to become, then suddenly you just had a thought, oh, you can write.
Well, it certainly was no mistake. I've enjoyed it thoroughly since I really took it seriously.
So, sir, I won't ask this, but because you're like a very successful writer, but do you ever get writer's block?
Oh yes, frequently. I think everybody does, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to say how to cure that. One of the things that I do, I'm lucky obviously that I'm not tied to hours when I write. So if I do come against a problem and think, well, where am I taking it from here? Very often I'll put a pen or a pencil down, I'll go out for a walk. I'll just go out for a walk, and while I'm out, that idea is mulling around in my head, and thinking of different ways out of the problem. And usually, by the time I get back, I'm ready to go again. So that's my answer really. I tend to go out for a walk. Don't labour through it, turn off, go out.
I think that's a wonderful advice, because sometimes I myself get,
Oh, I think we all do.
Yeah.
I think we all do.
So it's nice to just walk around and just take a break from writing.
Well, actually, it's nice when I'm talking to the children. It's nice to tell them I'm no different from you. There are times when I get stuck as well. The only difference is they can't stand up in class and walk out for a walk.
That's true. So, sir, we know that there's going to be a story writing session later.
Yes.
So can you tell us more about that?
Yes, yeah. As I say, I've just done a big assembly with all of the Key Stage 2 children. And during that, obviously, we talk about some of the things that you've asked here. We talk about collecting ideas. And particularly today, what I've done is shown them one idea that I collected, which was the idea that something I found. May I show you? Something that I found at home, digging in my garden. And this is going to be the theme for some of our workshops. It's as simple as that. It's a really old green bottle which I dug out of my garden. And I asked the children, well, how would you turn it into a story? Of course they said, well, it could be magic, it could be a potion inside, it could be a genie inside, it could be a witch's bottle. And when we go to the workshops, that's what we're going to develop. So that really is our main theme for today, with the different age groups, of course.
That bottle actually looks really good, sir. Because it looks so antique.
That's right. I mean, it's just a simple idea that can fire their imagination. I was telling the children, you can write about anything. One of my stories is called Trevor's Trousers. So you can even write a story about a pair of trousers. But we're going a little bit more interesting elements in it.
Yeah. I think we'll definitely find some great ideas from that.
I'm sure we will. They had some excellent ideas. They really did.
So, sir, can you give any advice to aspiring writers who wish to get into the field of writing?
Well, one thing is obviously, I take around with me a little ideas book. And I think you need something with you, because otherwise you forget them. So I carry an ideas book and jot down ideas. But the best advice is read as much as you can. The more the children read, the better writers they're going to become. And don't think, if at school, if you think, oh, I'm not the best of writers, there are many writers better than me. Writing's like any other hobby. The more you practice, the better you get. So persevere, because there's a writer inside everyone.
Okay. Well, sir, do you have anything specific you want to tell everyone?
Well, only the fact that I've been made so welcome. I've visited, since I've been in Qatar, I've been to 4 different schools. It's lovely to finish here because I've been made so welcome, and it's just a pleasure to come and talk to the children and work with the staff.
Have you travelled to any other countries, sir?
I have, yes. I've been to Egypt.
Wow.
Did 12 days in Egypt. I've been to Germany, working with some of the forces schools. What else have I been? I've been to Cyprus, and a really interesting trip to Moscow, which was very different to Qatar, but again very enjoyable. But it has been a pleasure working here.
You've been around, sir.
Just a little bit, and 1 or 2 in England as well.
Well, thank you, sir, for talking to us and telling us more about yourself.
Thank you for yours.
It was a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
Thank you for taking time to talk.